Hello, everyone, and welcome to BFW 2401 Week 4 Bank Performance. Now, in this week, I have decided to divide the slides and also the recording into four parts. So this is part one, but in part one, we will talk about the framework, which means what aspects of the bank we should evaluate. And then we are going to do that, what data we need and how to get them and where to get them. So this is actually covered in the first part. And the second part and the third part will go to the financial analysis and financial ratios. And we will concentrate on something called the ROE model, which is a model used for banks. And finally, we will look to some new models in bank performance. Now, while I'm going through those parts, please imagine yourself doing this performance for a bank. Maybe you are working for one of those big four or investor that you are interested to invest or working for investing company. So you are trying to evaluate a bank. And so this will lead you through this process. So having said that, please, allow me to share, and I will start. So this is, as I said, part one, and this is the resources. So you can read in our book from page 58 to 61. Of course, the slides, I try to, with this recording, try to provide as much as I can of the information. But if we want to look at the process we are talking about, I brought you a soft copy from this book, which is Goop at all 2007, and I will upload it for you. I will also upload for you what we call the framework of the ROE framework, so you can read also about it if, after you finish the recording and the slides. Of course, you can have additional resources that talking about bank performance. KPMG is a big resource. They always issue reports about banks. And of course, we have the regulators in Australia, EPRA, and in Malaysia, which is Bank Negara. Now, let me go to the learning objectives. See, the framework, when we talk about the framework, it's not like corporate or a normal business firm. We have what we call internal and external. So we divide our performance to internal and external. And when you are going to evaluate any bank, you have to look at those two. But what is the external? Remember, we are working and operating under something called trust economy. So trust economy, I put my bank money in the bank because I trust that bank. And this is actually based on the reputation of the bank, based on the compliance of the bank with the regulators. So actually, this is external. Internal, we know how we are doing and managing our returns and risk and other issues. But external is how other people actually are looking at us, including our, what we call participation in the CSR, what we call the corporate social responsibility. So the social issue, how we are doing in that, and the environment issue, how we are doing in that. So we are having more than one bottom line. Then after that, we will go to the main components of bank financial statements. Now, this is when we start the internal and the qualitative one. We need to see the financial ratios, which I think most of you have seen this in other units. And we will talk about the key return and risk, because we have to balance between the risk and the return in a way that we maximize our shareholders' value. Now, as I told you, we will talk about what we call the return on equity model. This is a very good model for our settings as a bank because it connects the risk and the return. And then we will talk about the importance of supplementary data. When you have a financial reports, you will have the main data, which is coming through the financial statements. income statement, balance sheet, return equity, and cash flow statements. But then later on in any report, you will have so much information in the body of the report. Now that information in the body of the report is very important, especially when we talk about off-balance sheet risk. And then, as I told you, we'll talk about modern risk, modern measures. Now, so this is what we are going to talk in first part, and we will go and I will talk about this later on. Now, let me go to, first of all, the first question we put to ourselves: who cares about bank performance? Actually, the bank management need this information about how we are performing for planning purposes. They need to do that, and for evaluating. And this is a basic management thing they have to do, and this should be on the performance. But we have now a new party, which we don't find it actually in a normal business term, which is the regulators. Those people need reports from us, sometimes on a monthly basis. But for sure, we will send information about our bank and how we are performing in the risk and the return and quarterly basis. Of course, we need to look at the potential and the current shareholders. So the potential are the investors, and therefore we have to provide enough information to the outsiders and to the shareholders, and that actually will affect our share price. So this comes under transparency, and we have to provide all those informations. And more interesting thing, we have to provide the information to our competitors, not really to specific competitor, but we have to provide information to the market. And this is a very important issue in what we call the free market mechanism, because there are mergers, acquisitions, taking over. So all of those is very important. So in a way that only strong banks can stay in the market, and that will help the financial system and the regulators and make better financial services. So this information you have to provide to the market so the competitors can use it. They may take you over, or you may take them. They may acquire you, or you acquire them, or maybe you decide to merge, to do mergers. Whatever is the situation, this all based on information. Just to give you one piece of information, in this country we used to have 36 banks before the Asian financial crisis, 1998. Now, after that, we have only 9 banks, and most of those small banks merge and make those big banks. You know, during the last 15, 20 years, we have seen so many changes. The bank CIMB is bigger and was consolidated with other banks and became a big groups. So we are talking now about groups. Now, this is the framework. And when we come to the materials, this is the framework actually. And the main purpose of bank management is to maximize the shareholders' wealth, which is this box. Now, this one, we can increase it only by more return, but also that return should take into consideration the risk. So I can take risk in order to get more return, which means I can give more and more loans, even risky loans, and increase the risk, as long as the return coming, the return coming from those, the benefit to the shareholders from the return exceed the harm of the risk to the shareholders' value. So as long as that function is positive, we keep taking risk, and I will talk about this in the second slide. Now, also when we talk about the framework, we have to look at the economic and political environment. So when we talk about political environment, as I told you, the regulators. We can talk also about our performance in the CSR, on the social front. All of those issues, we need to look at it when we evaluate the performance of the bank. Overall, we divide the performance to internal performance and external performance, and we will talk about this when we move a little bit. This is one of the most important graphs, and I think I have shown you this before. Look, if you look at this linear equation, this straight line, which is a linear equation, this is V, which is the value of the bank. And the value of the bank is the main value plus any return you make. So as long as the return is increases, this value of the bank will keep increasing. But this is assuming we don't have risk. If we have risk, we have to take that to consideration. So this, what we call a quadratic equation, or what we call the inverse U letter here, is actually trying to show us, they tell us, because if I'm going to optimize, I will optimize here, which means coming here, when we say optimize risk and return, I'm going to optimize here. Optimize, take a risk because this is a line of risk until I reach here. Because when I take more risk, I'm making more return. But I'm also making risk, that's fine, as long as the return is, the return impact on the shareholders' value is more than the risk. So I will keep taking risk, maybe giving more risky loans, that's fine, as long as I charge more interest. So, but when I reach to this position, any more risk is only decreasing the value. So I can take more risk here, and then I'm making the value of the bank is going down. So actually, when we are talking about banks, we are talking about this curve, not only this curve. So this curve is only telling us return without risk. This is taking the return to the situation, which is a plus, minus the risk cost, which is making the value of the bank. Please take that to consideration. Now, this is maybe the only technical point. Bank performance framework. We have to talk, as I told you, about internal performance. And what is internal performance? We can talk about the effective planning process inside the bank. We are talking whether the bank has the right technology and whether they are using it. And technologies now is everything, high tech now, and is a very important issue in banking. And as we see it, very important for the products, very important for the return, very important for everything as we see what we call the technologies. Now, also we want to see whether we have enough right people and skilled people. And we want to know also how is the bank conditions. So all of those, we usually, when we talk about performance, we think only talking about this. We go to the balance sheet, we take what we call the numbers from the financial reports, and we started to analyze. And this is actually what we usually used to think about as performance. But now, internal performance. But now actually, we have to take all these issues to the picture, including to the analysis. Now, what is the external ones actually? The external, still some of that is the market share. We want to see how is this market share, and there is some ratios to measure that. Of course, the price, the increase in the price, and the BE ratio, which is a price to the earning ratio. This is one of the external performance, which is actually quantitative one. There is a qualitative one, which is the regulatory compliance, how we are complying with the regulations. And the most important thing is actually the confidence of as I told you, we are operating in something called trust economy. So we want to see how we are doing, how the others looking at us, because it's very easy if our image goes down in front of the regulators or the public, every depositor will come and withdraw their money, and nobody even come and take loans from us. So this is also the external performance. So now we are talking about internal and external within this framework. Now, if you look at it from different perspective, whether you are talking about internal or external, you can divide it to quantitative and qualitative. So let me talk about the quantitative one, which is actually the financial analysis or the financial ratios. That includes share market data and ratings. Rating agencies also make quantitative numbers about us. Of course, they didn't say you are 5 or 6 or 7. They bring what you call triple A, double A, triple B, and we go down in this rating of those 3 big rating agencies in the world. And it's very, very important to have good rating as a bank. We also look at the profitability. So we look at the market data. We look how the regulators look at us. And of course, the rest is the financial ratios. What is the purpose of this? To provide measures of past performance, how we are doing actually, and actually let us know what we should do, how did we perform in the past and how we are going to do in the future. And this is what we call enables modeling for future planning periods. So this is actually the future planning periods, which means based on the past performance. Let me see at the qualitative. Now the qualitative is, as you can see, qualitative, which means no numbers, market perception, how many products and services we have. We want to see to the corporate citizenship or quality of management. Now, when we talk about corporate citizenship, we are talking actually about what we are doing on the social front and the environment front, and what is our participation in that, and how we design our products in a way to encourage the safety of the environment, and how we are financing, whom we are financing. Are we financing companies that are actually harming the environment? All of those issues are actually coming under the CSR, including our contribution. But actually, what is the purpose? If the purpose of this quantitative is to see how did we do in the future and what we should do about it for the, well, how did we do in the past? This is this is what we call the quantitative, how we did in the past and what we should do about it in the future, how we should improve it. This one, we use it for different thing, the qualitative one. We want to see whether they are indicators of our financial performance. They are indicators of the perceptions and the corporate citizenship and the products and services, the range of products and services. But also the most important thing maybe is to see whether we can validate our financial analysis performance. And this is very important, please, when you do any performance. If somebody is doing well in the quantitative one, if a bank is doing well in the quantitative one, should do well in the qualitative one. If the market, if they are making huge profits, that means their market perception is good. If they are going to, if they are doing, the share price is just hiking and jumping, that means they are very well in market perception. They have huge and good products and services, and they are good in corporate, what you call citizenship. But if it is completely the opposite, then questions come to the picture. How come my share price is doing well, but my reputation is going down? How come I am the worst bank in, say, in products and services, but when you go to the market or when you see my financial reports, I'm the best? So there must be some questions there. So actually the quantitative one, the qualitative is validating the quantitative, which means they should go in parallel. They should go, they should align to each other. And actually, as I told you, it's also to contribute to future planning. If we are not doing well in this one, we want to see what we are going to do about it. Let me go now to the, I'm done actually with the framework. Let me go to the data, which I think most of you know it. So this is actually a range of data. This is about Australia. You can get data in Indonesia, you can do that. In Japan, you can do that. I'm talking to the international students and the local students. And Malaysia also, you can do that. So we have the bank annual reports, which is around across the board. Now the Bureau of Statistics is different. We have in Australia one, but we have also in Malaysia. We have in some other countries. They provide you with this. This department is only for statistics. Of course, we have the central bank. Stockbrokers provide information. Rating agencies is very important. Banking associations also keep information about banks. Financial service institutes, the financial press is one of the most important things because financial press always provide information. Payments clearing associations also provide information about banks, and also data services. Data services provide information about banks. So you can get actually your information from all those sources. Some of them you can buy this information, like the data services. Okay, let's go to the balance sheet. How does it look actually? And actually, most of us know it. We have the asset side, which is actually the loans and the liquidity. We can have some investments, and the liability side, we have the deposits and the capital, and the capital is actually a buffer against loan losses. Now, if you look what information actually the coming from the annual reports, look at the income statement, for example. We have interest income minus interest expenses. We get something called net interest income. Then we have the non-interest, either revenues or expenses, which is other revenues coming from areas other than we can have an investment outside, we can have a trading outside, we can have, we can make reevaluation for our assets, all of those income that coming from, not from the main, loan activities. So it's non-interest. And then we have non-interest expenses, and then we have the operating and the tax, and this is actually the income statement. So the financial reports actually provide absolute data. From the balance sheet, for example, we can get total assets and total liabilities. We can get liquid assets. We can get loans and deposits, equities, net income, interest revenues, interest expenses, and all these issues, we can get it actually from the income statements. So this is actually the information from the balance sheet, as I said, and this is the information from the income statement. So this is when we talk about the first part, which is the annual report. So we have this is the basic data from bank annual reports, all of those. Now I want to talk about the supplementary information. And supplementary information is very important because you can find issues relating to the earning assets. For example, in the balance sheet, they will show you only assets. But you want to go deep about the earning assets and see the earning, those earning explicit interest, which ones, other than our fixed assets and other assets. And we can have also information about our risk-weighted capital adequacy, which is actually important for to see whether we have enough buffers of capital for any losses. This cannot find in the income statement or balance sheet. Maturities of assets, maturities of loans, the write-offs, past due loans, which is NPLs, all of those information actually are coming from the supplementary information. What do you mean by supplementary information? If you take now Australian National Bank, AMB, or take any bank like public bank, If you see the report almost 100 pages, 150 pages. Only the first few pages can include the financial report, which is the income statement. But then you will go to deep, more and more information and data. This is what we call the supplementary information, which is actually the disclosures other than what we have in the balance sheet and the income statement and the other, statement of equities and cash flows and all these issues in the body of the report. This comes as what we call it supplementary information. All of this of balance sheet data, you can find it only on the supplementary reports. Yeah, this is the off balance sheet. As I told you, we can get it from the balance sheet, from the supplementary data. And it will show you the direct credit substitutes, like the standby letter of credits. We'll talk about this later on, but all I want to say, anything that is not in the balance sheet, actually coming under the balance, the off-balance sheet, and the off-balance sheet is the derivative operations, our exposures to in the derivative market, and also our guarantees and letter of credits, and all those type of guarantees is coming here, and commitments are coming here under the OPS. Okay, now let me go to the supplementary information. We have also share market data, we can get it. And this is related to the share price and dividend payments, and we can do some analysis about this. Rating agencies provide good information about banks, and they are accurate information. Analyst recommendation, I don't know whether have heard about analysts, but some companies, you can find so many people, so many analysts produce information, follow, for example, a company, and started to collect information about it, and started to, this is one of the most important mechanisms in the free market. So those analysts follow a company. It could be one analyst, it can be two, it can be, some companies are followed by 30, 40 analysts, and they issue their reports. And when they issue their reports, they bring some very important information. Those analysts also, they can call the CEO and they call the management and make with them some meetings, and then they issue their reports. So analyst recommendations about companies, they issue also recommendations. It's very important for the company, important for the investors, and actually people taking it very seriously. And then finally, we'll talk about the market share. We have non-financial information may indicate bank performance or risk. Example, we can have also information about the significant management changes. If we have all these huge and frequent turnovers of CEOs and CFOs and employees inside the company, that will signal some problem. You have to take care of that. And this is when we do the whole framework. See, we have to go through the internal, external, qualitative, quantitative, and you have to go to the share market, and you have to go to the rating agencies, and you have to go to analyst reports, and you have to go to other information. And finally, you have also to go inside the company and see how those, corporate governance is going. And things like issue related to the management, auditors, corporate governance, the estimates, whether they are conservative or not conservative. With all of this, you can actually build a very good report. I hope it didn't take a long time. This is the end of part 1, and I will see you in part 2. Thank you. Bye-bye. Let me end.